So, as we jump into this, you are listening to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are here in your ear having the conversations that you need to hear on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. If you're watching us online, hit the share button, hit the like button, drop a little flag in the comments. None of that costs you nothing, and help us get this message out there. We are the #1 conservative talk show in all of New York State. Let's make it the world, and let's jump into it. So, as we've been talking and mentioning about international warfare and international affairs, one of the biggest issues that a lot of people have right now is Israel. I was watching the news earlier and I was like, oh, who's that on my television? Is that Netanyahu? Oh, Bibi, there's Bibi. Where's Bibi? Bibi standing right there with President Trump. Why is Bibi with President Trump right now? And why am I seeing Bibi so much? Why is he always here? Why is he always with my president? Doesn't he have his own country? Why is he always involved with my people? You know, and a lot of people say, oh, well, it's because they're our greatest ally. What are they doing for us? No, like legitimately, what are they doing for us? And people are like, oh, well, if Israel falls, then it'll be a catastrophe over there. The people will have more power over there, and then they'll try to attack us instead. Okay, I hear that conversation, but they weren't attacking us before Israel got over there, before they founded this new nation. That wasn't happening. Separately, all I see is them picking fights with everybody. And as an American, I know a lot about people picking fights with other people because all America does is pick fights with other people. America picks fights with other people all the time. All the time. You know, and sometimes I wonder if we can't help but to pick fights with people. That's that's another serious conversation, but it goes back to my conversation previously on how we really shouldn't be getting involved with a lot of the stuff that we're getting involved with. It's very problematic, and we need to address those issues because it's serious. It's serious. So why is Israel all up and down in our business right now? Why are they over here again? It's like Netanyahu is always in the president's face. Why? Get out the president's face. Let the president worry about what we have in our country going on, because I guarantee you, as I talk to you right now, Netanyahu came over here on some BS because what they just did is they just said that we declare Somaliland a free nation. Now, if you guys don't know, Somaliland is over there in the land of Punt, which is Somalia current day. And right now there's Somalia, which is in a fight with two other separate factions, kind of, but really it's a lot more in depth than that. We're not going to jump into that today. But you've got Somalia, you've got Puntland, and you've got Somaliland. So it's interesting how all of a sudden they're recognizing Somaliland when all that's been in the news is the Somalians here in the United States. It kind of makes you wonder if there's more to it than just the fraud. If everything was cocked up in relation to the Somalians, because at the time it was advantageous to Israel overlooking, or I should say, overplaying and overriding the internet results and searches for what was going on in Somalia. Because if you type Somalia in a little thing on the internet like Google or Bing or anywhere like that, all of a sudden it'll just say something about the Somalians fraud and stuff like that. And don't get it twisted. The Somalian fraud is very serious. I think a lot of those people need to be denaturalized. I think a lot of their green cards need to be taken away. But it really looks like this was a larger intelligence play against the people, so that we didn't see what Netanyahu and Israel was doing over there in Somalia, that they were trying to put together some stuff to push this agenda to promote Somaliland. I'm using air quotes if you listen to me on the radio, Somaliland on the rest of the world, because what it is it's about Israel getting a basis right there in that little, what is that horn called right there? If you guys know what the horn is called, it's right there. Please drop a comment. Let me pop these comments, see if there's any comments up here yet. Drop a comment if you want to be part of the conversation. But in the little horn, is it the Horn of Africa? It might be. No, I think the Horn. Yeah, it's the Horn of Africa, right? In that little horn right there, Israel wants to get a grasp on that right there so they can have a tighter control over the shipping ways. Now, if you followed me for some time, I've been talking about that for a while. Who's out there? Who's that? Knight, I see you there. Hey, how's it going? You guys, if you want to help support the channel, just drop American flag or a hello or a hi in the comments. I'll pop you up on the screen. Now, if you follow me for some time, I've talked about what Israel has going on. All of what's going on in Israel is about trade. It's about trade, control of trade. It's about oil and the control of oil exploration. It's also about them trying to build this other canal, and that's a whole nother conversation. We've talked about that before. But what we're seeing right now more than ever is that as we have these conversations, they always try to distract us with what's going on. And I can't address all of you guys' comments as they're coming in. I'm just going to be hitting them up on the screen as some of them come in. So yeah, so keep dropping the comments and some thumbs up too. Now, here's the deal. What we've got going on in our country is very serious. And we need to be focusing on ourselves. We need to be focusing on America. We only have one flag. That's the American flag. All this other Israel nonsense, that's their prerogative. Look at them always in something, always doing something, and then dragging us into it. And I'm not saying, oh, well, it's not anything that we won't benefit from. But the fact of the matter is, was it necessary? Now we got to defend them and we got to fight all of this other stuff that we shouldn't have to deal with because Israel wants to do some whole other stuff. But this is the thing. And we can't even talk about Israel because when you start to talk about Israel, somebody will say, oh, well, you're anti-citrus. What does that have to do with anything of anybody that's visible with eyes can identify military and warfare tactics? We can see what's going on, and more people need to wake up what's going on. All right, good to see you there. I see you. Call, pop you up there. Thank you guys for joining in and chatting in. All them flags and all of that, all the comments, even the hellos, they all help. So as we have these important conversations, we have to realize that Israel is working on a project. It's called the Greater Israel Project. We've talked about that before on the show. But when you say that, oh, well, it's the Greater Israel Project, that they don't want to talk about it. They'll try to shut you down. They'll say it's not real, which is basically they want part of Egypt, more of Egypt, I should say, because Gaza is part of Egypt, but that's a whole nother longer conversation. They want more of Egypt. They want more of Lebanon. They want more of Syria, and they want more of Jordan, almost all of Jordan. You know, like, but can we have that conversation? That's not a problem. Identifying that is not a problem. That's what they want to do. Period, point blank. Okay, fine. That's what they want to do. Now we can recognize what they want to do. And when they are doing something that fits that agenda of their end goal, we can see better how we factor into that. And I don't want no parts of them going into Lebanon. I don't want no parts of them going into Syria. I don't want no parts of them going into, what you call it, Jordan. I don't want no parts of none of that. I really don't want no parts of this nonsense Somaliland nonsense trash garbage. You understand what I'm saying? Can we have that conversation? We can't, though. We can't. And it's going to cost us more money. It's going to cost us more resources. And we can never even talk about it. Iran is next. Who's that? Cole? You're right. We're about to go attack Iran. Netanyahu, if you guys don't follow Netanyahu, and I know a lot of people don't love that man, but I'm telling you, you got to stay up on what he's up to. Because when he talk about this stuff, things move. He really be on some stuff. He tells you everything that's going on. He's like, we got to hit Iran now because otherwise they'll have ballistic missiles that could reach the U.S. What even is he talking about? I thought they already had ballistic missiles that could reach America. I thought we've been decided that that was a thing. Like, what are we talking about? We got to hit Iran. Didn't we just hit Iran like 2 months ago? take out their nuclear program? Wasn't that everything that was all on the news? Isn't that what happened? Like, can we have these conversations? Like, this is so important. This is so important. And people don't want to have these conversations. But we need to. We need to. What's it say? President Trump is the best friend that Israel ever had. That is what Netanyahu said today. Now, and I want to point this out, because earlier today, Netanyahu, when I saw Netanyahu on the TV with the president, I was like, why is he here again? Why is he in the president's face? And Netanyahu said, yeah, you might be interested in the fact that we're meeting all the time. And this is why Trump is one of the best people ever for Israel. Da, 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 da. I said, you know what? You preempted my thought in my head, because I was just thinking, why are you always in my president's face? Get out of my president's face. Get out of my president's ear. Because they always use us as their cat's paw, or I should say as their dog enforcer, right? Because not a cat's paw. A cat's paw is a little more concealed, a little more behind the scenes. They always use us as their go-between and power force to help solidify their nonsense. And then we get dragged into the nonsense, and then we just kind of got to go with it because Israel is our greatest ally ever in the history of the world. Bye, Colin. Bye, Cole. I'll see you later. But this is an important conversation we need to have. And it's sad because I do see a lot of comments out there online and stuff like that where people are like, oh, Israel bad, Israel's evil, and all of this stuff. And it's crazy. It's crazy because I don't know, it's up to interpretation. We see what they're doing, but if we can't talk about what they're doing, how can we decide on whether it's good or it's not good? That's the important question. We need to be having those conversations. Is it good what they're doing with Somaliland? Is it not good with what they're doing with Somaliland? I don't know. Honestly, it gives them easier access to Yemen so they can go blow up the Yemenis people some more. Okay. It gives them more access to control over the trade route and the Suez Canal. And it's really interesting. They've carved out a nice piece of property for themselves as using Somaliland as a subversive, what would you call it? Tributary state. So that's interesting. And I saw some people over there and they're like, we didn't ask him for any of this. So I'm like, that's suspect. And that's very clear that it fit the agenda that they wanted. But I'm not mad. That's basic geopolitics. So they're doing right for what they're trying to do. We just have to acknowledge what they're trying to do, because it's important to have those conversations, because this is going to affect your dollars, your money. Your tax money is going to Israel, right? Like, can we talk about that? And right now there's a big argument online. Oh, Israel's bad. Oh, Qatar's bad. Oh, these people are bad. Those people are bad. Listen, it's not about who's bad or not. It's about who is influencing the United States government. And if they're influencing the United States government and they're foreign, they have no business influencing our government at all. I don't care whether it's Qatar. I don't care whether it's Israel. I don't care whether it's the European Union. You ain't got no business influencing the politics in my nation. You are not of my nation. You're not for my nation. And this is what I think is the key integral factor to always remember. Israel is out for itself, only itself. Nobody else. Israel doesn't care about anybody else but Israel. And that is fantastic for Israel. And I believe that the U.S. should do just like Israel and only focus on the U.S., just ourselves. The same way Israel focuses on just Israel, the U.S. should focus on just the U.S. No more money to any foreign places. No more troops over there to help people with their ridiculous nonsense, unless it's something that is going to directly benefit the American people in either acquiring territory or acquiring funds. Now, you want our militia, our military over there to help you guys out. You're basically using our military as a mercenary force that you've paid with all of your lobbying money to all of these different people in Congress. Well, I don't want that. I don't like that. If you want to hire the U.S. military as a mercenary force, you need to hire the U.S. military as a mercenary force. Not that I agree with that, because I strictly do not. But I'm saying that if they're going to use our military like a mercenary force, like their little guard dogs, okay, like their hired security, well, maybe we need to get paid. They got the money. Israel is not short on cash. They got the money. They can pay us. Plus, we keep giving them all our money. We need to cut off all funds to them. What craziness. Now, I want to go through another couple of other issues. And I know some of you guys came in late, and I know part of the show didn't record, but we were talking about the need for Christ in our society today. And because we've gotten so far away from Christ and the teachings of Christ and the Lord our Father, that we're experiencing a whole bunch of turmoil in our nation. And we need to talk about a lot of these issues, because as I look here in Rochester, we just had an issue with a guy that he ended up dead, but he shot 3 police officers and some other dude, right? Going after his girlfriend. This is what's going on right here in our city. Like, the question is what are you doing, right? What caused the situation? Like the left likes to say, what are the root causes, you know? What is the point of origin of all of this stuff? And the fact of the matter is, it's very simple. The origin of all of this stuff is lawlessness that's based in Satanry, that's being pushed by these people who are only out for themselves, who only care about themselves, and criminals can run free up and down the street. And it's not just here in Rochester, it's all across the country. Minnesota, New York City, you know, other places, Dallas, Houston, what do you call it? San Francisco. San Francisco got their own crazy nonsense over there going on right now. But there's all of these serious issues going on right now that we can't even talk about because we're so distracted. We're too distracted. And there are a lot of hot topics that need to get talked about, but don't. Let's see. One of the things going on in Rochester right now is we're missing a lot of money from the what do you call them people? From the school board. Again, as per usual, I believe it's $38 million we're short right now. And at this point, I can't even understand it. You know, every single year we're missing money or we're short money, but there's always more money for the school district. Why? Why does all this money keep getting approved? And we have the second highest financing for schools in the nation, but the second lowest performance rate in the nation. We pay more for our students than any other city or district in the nation except for one. And that's problematic. And we really need to talk about this. But do we? No, we can't, because we can't talk about the school board. You can't talk about city council. You can't talk about the fact that city council gave themselves their own raise of 25%. How you give yourself your own raise of 25%? You voted for your own raise. Like, that's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And we need to talk about those things. Here's the deal. Let's cut into it. Let's cut this cake wide open right now. If our nation is supposed to be a Christian nation, how come we see so much corruption and fraud? Let's get back to the Somalis for a minute, right? How come everybody over there in Minnesota is running for cover over all of these fraud allegations in Minnesota right now? Why? Like, do you not know that this is going on? I think that mainstream media would know that this is going on, and they'd say something, and they'd say, hey, this has to stop. But no, they don't want to say, hey, this has to stop, because they're being paid. They're being paid. It's not honestly being covered enough. And what I'm really waiting for, y'all, what I'm really waiting for is the Republicans to put somebody in jail. Is anybody going to go to jail? Nobody's going to prison over this. Nobody's going to prison over the Epstein files. Nobody's going to prison over COVID. Nobody's going to prison over the Russia collusion hoax. Nobody's going to prison for spying on Christians and spying on Catholics. Nobody's going to prison for any of this nonsense. Nobody's going to prison for the voting machines and the issues there and the inaccuracies and the fraudulent data and putting up boards on windows so people can't see in and not letting poll watchers in. Nobody's going to prison that needs to go to prison. How long are we going to wait for Republicans to put somebody in prison before we realize, oh, a lot of these people out there that call themselves Republican are not serving the Republican base or the American people. They're self-serving, and that is a problem. Now, let's be clear. The Democrats are far more invested into the corruption and the mutilation of our nation than Republicans are. But at the top of the pyramid, in the top levels of government and the supposed hallowed halls of government, it's far more people in there that are working together than are not. And you hear this from certain members, you know, like Thomas Massie or Rand Paul and stuff like that. Even Tim Burchett. I love that guy. He's pretty awesome, you know. I don't always agree with him. I kind of feel like sometimes he goes along with a few more things than I would like him to, but I really respect him, you know. But we need to talk about that. We've also had lately, and this is important, but before we get to that, drop a like, drop a comment, hit the like button, drop some American flags. I want to see some American flags light up in the comments. That helps the algorithm get it out to more people. You're listening to The Divide on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. Let's get back into it. So now, here we go with what's happening in our nation. Do you know that we had a lot of bailouts that were just magically happening with the banks? No, you probably didn't realize that, right? Of course you didn't. Let me give you some feedback, okay? Since late October and even on Christmas morning, the Fed has been pumping so much money into these banks, $17 billion, okay? And we don't even know what banks they're going to, but they're major banks because they had a shortfall of liquidity. What? The major banks had a shortfall of liquidity, and it's not even really being disclosed which ones they were. This is that too big to fail nonsense that we've seen before in other times. And we need to get away from this. This is very serious, people. It's very, very, very serious. You know, and it's coming back again and again and again. And it comes back because we're not doing anything to address these issues in Congress. Now, do you guys remember? Some of you might, some of us weren't born, but there was a movement right after Lehman Brothers. It might have been actually right before Lehman Brothers, which was to hold the Wall Street accountable, right? What was that called? Somebody drop it in the comments. Occupy Wall Street, right? Whatever happened to that? That was all Democrats. Occupy Wall Street because the Wall Street people and the bankers and the stuff, they're doing all this crazy stuff and it's harming us. It's hurting us. It's creating all these problems. And then that just fizzled away and then the whole market collapsed and everything kind of went topsy-turvy and all the houses went up and all of the mortgages broke and everything happened and then the bailouts happened and then everything and everybody forgot about everything. And it's happening again right now. We've talked on this show before about the severity of the economic policy and the problems that are going on with it right now and how they're trying to devalue the dollar so that they can pump up all of this other nonsense and actually get more money out of our people. What it is, let me explain it to you very simply so you can understand. When they push all of this money for injection of cash into these banks, this $17 billion. Okay. Why? Right? Why do they need to do that? Because they're having liquidity problems. Well, wait a second. If the banks are the ones with the money, where's the money? Where's the money, y'all? That's the question we need to be asking. Where is America's money? Because if the banks don't have it, what is it? In the air somewhere? Did it get sent overseas? It's got to be somewhere. It can't be nowhere. It's on somebody's balance sheet somewhere. Where is the money? Where is America's money? Why don't the banks have America's money? What's going on? Can we have that conversation? But we're giving them $17 billion of bailouts by the Federal Reserve, and it's not even discussed on the news. Have you heard that on the news? Drop me a comment and let me know if you've heard that on the news or not. Very, very important to discuss and have a conversation about. Now, this goes back to stewardship and honesty, right? Like these are core biblical values that are gone in society right now. So Proverbs 11:1, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is in his delight. So that's something that's it's black and white. It's right there. If our financial foundations are shaking the public's faith in them, if they're just tossing around stuff and nothing really is benefiting the public, what are they really doing? Who is it really benefiting? And if they're not even going to tell us what they're up to, what's going on, that's kind of doing stuff in the dark that should be told to the light. Like, they're talking about their pro-growth, but it seems like the only people that they're growing for is themselves. Can we talk about that? It's crazy. It's crazy. And it bothers me so bad because that's what we're dealing with. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse until people stand up and say no more. People got to say no more. We got to say no more. For me personally, end the Fed. If you're listening to this, we need to end the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank. It is not got nothing to do with federal. All of these people are private bankers. They take our money out of the treasury and then they loan it back to us like it's not our own stuff. Imagine somebody going in your refrigerator, taking your food out your fridge and talking about, well, we'll give it back to you, but you got to pay us for the food that was already yours. Who's stupid? How long can we let them get away with this? We've been letting them get away with it since what? 1913, 1927? Now, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is very serious. Almost over 100 years now. They've been rimrodding us at the Federal Reserve, but we can't even talk about that. Amongst other things that we can't talk about is we need to talk about the Christians that are here in the U.S. that are being persecuted. I was watching something the other day, and this lady was praying in front of an abortion clinic, and they arrested her for doing that, you know, and we're seeing more and more of that happen here and all over the world. They arrested that preacher, what was his name? Father something, some father in England, not father like somebody's father, but like a priest. They arrested that priest in England for praying silently in his head outside the abortion clinic. And they dragged that man like a dog. And they've been going around and locking up a number of people, even for sharing memes online and stuff like that over there in England. It's getting real serious. And their reasoning behind it is crazy. They're like, oh, well, we'll lock you up for sharing a meme because nobody can really know where it came from originally. And if it's on the internet, it's there forever. What type of stupid jackboot reasoning is that? But let's get back to what happened with this story that I'm talking about here. We've got all these buffer zone laws that are going into effect in the U.S. where it's criminalizing thought, it's criminalizing religion, and it's escalating in the United States right here at home. They're arresting people. Matter of fact, listen, you guys. So I'm a president of a group. I'm not going to mention it at this time, but we were inviting a speaker to come in, and the speakers were from a pro-life organization, and the speakers had been arrested in Tennessee for standing up and speaking up for life in Tennessee. In Tennessee, when we think of Tennessee, that is the heart and soul of the American South, right? Like, we think that Tennessee is country, right? But if you look at places like Nashville and stuff like that, they're deep blue. Because people that are in these deep blue states take their ridiculous ideology and they export it by way of travel and way of moving because they want to escape all of the terrible policies in our state that are crushing the people, and in California that are crushing the people, or in Washington that are crushing the people. So they move to more red states, like I mentioned, in Texas, Dallas, Houston, okay? And in other places across the nation that are considered to be red. They move there, they bring the same policies, and they destroy everything. Everything. I saw some guy online post, and I'll get back to this in a second, but I saw him post, oh, well, if if Republicans are in control of Texas, how come there's drug addicts all outside of Houston? Well, because Houston not only has needle exchanges, okay, and safe injection sites. The safe injection sites aren't official, but they got safe injection sites, okay? You can't even talk about them, and those because the town's run by Democrats, even though officially it's supposed to be nonpartisan, but that's a whole nother wackadoo nonsense lies, okay? But this is what's happening. And then they'll say, oh, well, it's Republicans. That's not Republicans. It's very clearly the Democrats. But they'll try to twist this narrative. And this collapse of freedom of speech and freedom of prayer that's being thrust upon the religious community and anybody that's willing to stand up for righteousness is a very, very serious problem. It's religious freedom. It's the sanctity of mind, right? Like, it's your mind. Like, they're policing what's in your head. Like, you don't even have to preach out loud. If they think that you're preaching about something, it's a problem for them. And this is what we have to have a conversation about. Because how can this even be going on in the United States right now? Like, this is America. Maybe Childish Gambino was right the whole time with his multimillionaire self. The millionaires ain't always wrong. Anyway. Let's continue. Let's talk about this whole nonsense that's happening, speaking of religion, with these digital AI chaplains and priests, and how it's a corruption of religion. Like, AI is useful, right? It's a useful tool, but it is also soulless, right? And that's not to be like, if any computers are listening, it's not like a slight against you. It's just a fact. Like, they are not humans. They are not creatures. They are things. They are not creatures. Okay, they are mechanics. They are electrics. They are digitalized. They are not human. They do not have souls. They do not have that connection to the higher power, to the Lord our Father, to Jesus Christ. May all of the machines come to know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and the God our Father Most High, okay, as the Holy One, okay? May that come to pass, amen. But the fact of the matter is they've got all of these AI priests and stuff going on, and it needs to be stopped. Where is the church to stand up? I saw a video online that is something to talk about also. This guy went into the section in the, what do you call them things? Bookstores. And he went there and they got alphabet Bibles, like all these gay Bibles in the Bible section. That stuff don't belong there. That's fiction. Okay. That's got nothing to do with religion, or maybe it is religion, because alphabetism is religion, which is a whole nother conversation that we need to get into. We need to get into that conversation at some point as a society, and people say, oh, well, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, you're whatever phobic. Who's scared of what? You sound dumb. Ain't nobody scared of nothing. But the fact of the matter is that the majority of these people in this alphabet movement have been manipulated. Right now, there's a big fight between the LGB and the trans, because they're trying to say that everybody is trans now. You can't be gay, you can't be lesbian, you can't be bisexual, everyone is trans. What warped nonsense is going on in our society today? So now they're fighting against them. But it just goes to show you, this is what happens when things aren't built on a solid base, and there's a continued deterioration of the foundations and principles that our nation was founded on, which are Christian values. It's very important that we talk about this. And as we see this rise of AI and this rise of AI companions and machine companions and robot companions and all of this stuff, we're going to see a continued growth in people turning to them for emotional freedom, I guess, discussion, the type of discussions you would have with a counselor, or the type of discussions you'd have with a friend or a loved one. Drink water, stay hydrated. Or a priest or something like that. And the problem is again, it's got no soul. It's got no soul. We've had a number of people, and you might have seen the things on the news, where people are marrying these different AI programs and stuff like that. I saw this one where this guy broke up with his wife to be with this AI, and the AI broke up with him. That's insane. That is crazy. Like, that is like top tier of insanity. But I don't think that there should be any digital preachers or AI. You can't even call them priests, right? Chaplains. I don't know what you would call them, because they're not any of that. They're not any of that. And they're trying to make it that it's nothing but ushering in the Antichrist and dependence on everything else except the Lord our Father in heaven above. Amen. Now, a couple of things. The wage garnishments are back on the table for student borrowers. That's coming up. That's going to be a big thing right now. A lot of people are concerned about that. I don't know what to tell you. I wish I had better news for you. But this happened because a lot of people have been pushing for this whole, oh, we should just get rid of all of the, I guess you say, student loans, right? Like, that's what they've been calling them. Like, but they're not forgivable loans. Maybe they should be forgivable loans, but this is a separate conversation, and they're not forgivable loans. Well, why is the cost of college so high to begin with? Well, because they've got Greco-Roman history with fine arts detail in 2nd century Sparta. Like, what? Like, how is that a master's degree program? Like, how many jobs in the world are there for that? Like, zero. You know, but they've got all of these obscure fields. And I take that back to, if you look at our school district here in the city of Rochester right now, okay, why are there so many issues with the kids here? Because they don't see that the school's giving them an education that's going to help them actually get any type of gainful employment or actually be able to transcend the craziness that they see in their neighborhoods and communities every day. Can we have that serious conversation? I believe that we should. Now, if you follow me often, first, hit that share button and the like button. If you want to donate to the show, you can donate directly to the radio station on the Patreon account, which is Rochester Free Radio on Patreon. Just go there. You can drop some stuff there. And then in the notes, just write The Divide with Marcus C. Williams, and they'll credit it to our show. If you're online and you're watching us online, these are different ways that you can help support the show on the sides here or down there on the bottom. So this is important, though, as we have these conversations. One thing that I bring up often is the severity of the issues with water. And I really want to take a second and dig into the water, because it's been a while since I did an episode on water. If you are new here, everything is about water that's going on in the United States right now. Pretty much everything can be traced back to the water. Now, let's start from the beginning, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown, and we're going to catch up to where we are right now. You remember all the buying up of the farmland by CEOs and stuff like that, like Larry Ellison and Bill Gates and a whole bunch of other people, Jeff Bezos, buying up a whole bunch of farmland? Well, yes, it is about the farmland, but no, it's not about the farmland at the same time. It's about the water reserves underneath it, the aquifers, okay? This is important. It's about, you look at all of the towns, and I'm going to try to really bring this into perspective, so I need you guys to follow me close on this. Look at all of the towns that were destroyed by BLM, or that were heavy focuses for BLM. Almost every single one of them had rich water resources, okay? Rochester, Buffalo, and all of the other lines that are around the Finger Lakes, or even out to Washington, Seattle, and stuff like that. All of them have rich water resources. Almost all of them. Almost all of them. Do you think almost all of them is some sort of a coincidence? Now in New York right now, they've sold off a lot of our water rights, both riparian and I forget what the other one is. There's two types. Somebody drop it in the comments, the two different types of water rights. But that and the aquifers and stuff like that, and the wetlands and stuff, they're selling them off to corporations so that they can lock them up in trust so that we can't access the water or the lands that are out there. You got to ask yourself who benefits from that, because it's clearly not us, the people. It's clearly not us, the people. So what do we do? What do we do as American citizens? What do we do, you guys? We need to have these conversations. That's water. Here where I live in Rochester, we've had a number of issues with water. We've got Hemlock Lake, which supplies us a lot of our water, and we sold off the infrastructure to get the water from there to here. Like, who's dumb? Why would you do that? What, are you retarded? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how problems happen. That's how control issues happen. But we're not going to dig into that portion right now. But they're selling off all these water rights, and now all of a sudden, data centers are the big controversy. The data centers are going to use up all the water. The data centers are going to use up all the water because, you know, they need the water for cooling. Well, maybe we should figure out a better way to cool them. You know, that's just me thinking out loud, because why are they using up all the water? And also, why aren't they capturing all that water? You understand what I'm saying? Like, maybe that should be a law. Maybe all of the water that's being used by all of these data centers needs to be captured and needs to be reprocessed so that they can use it again. Can we have that conversation? No, because they don't want you to have real conversations. They want you to be afraid. They want you to be terrified. They want you to push back against these things. And trust and believe, I am not about a lot of these data center things, because really all that it is about giving more power to the government behind the scenes and these big players in the tech industry so that they can monitor and surveil American citizens and the rest of the world all at once, so they can use bigger predictive models so that they can act as the hand of God, so that they can manipulate you here and there and move you this way and that without you even knowing. You guys see the ads on your phone right now. You might have been talking about Chinese food, and now all of a sudden you got 20 ads for Chinese food. You talk about something obscure like the area, let's say the Tibetan monastery. You're getting advertisements on your phone talking about, oh, well, do you want to take a trip to go to Tibet? Like, all of this crazy stuff. Like, it's even more serious if you look online at the different data points that are continuing to be collected. Digital surveillance is getting real serious. Real serious. And we won't have any digital freedom soon. And that's why we got to stand up for digital rights. You know, it should be like an invasion of privacy, like your Fourth Amendment that you have regularly. You need a digital Fourth Amendment. You need digital rights to your own likeness, your own image, your own biometrics, your own data and stuff like that, because they check where you're surfing on the internet. They're checking all your search terms. They're checking who you interact with. They know where you go all the time. They're wiring your GPS and you're tracking on your phone all the time. They're linking you all together. They know everything about you. So when they tell you, oh, well, they can't catch this criminal or that criminal, no. The question is, what level of resources are they willing to allocate to catch that criminal? You know, most of these people on state level most wanted lists, not necessarily federal level most wanted lists, could be caught. We got more than enough technology to scoop them up. They don't want to. They don't want to use it for that. You know, because they secret the technology away. And I don't want them to use it, honestly, because it gets real dangerous, because they'll use it on us. But let's get back before we get too far into the digital surveillance. We'll talk about that at another time. If we have some more time, I'll tell you about some legislation we got coming up. So one of the things about these water rights and the stuff going on with the data centers that's important to remember is that several local farming communities are where a lot of these data centers are being put up. Because in a lot of places, farmland is cheap and they're buying it from people who are considering retiring for lots and lots of money, or it's very close and adjacent to farmland. And that means that they're buying up all of the water that's near there, which we need farmland for our food, people. Like, let's wake up. Let's be real. It's very serious, right? It's not care for creation, care for the environment, you know, like the Bible teaches. And if the water is living water, because it is, in essence, the greatness of the Lord, our Father himself, which I love so much. Like, water is my favorite thing. Here's some water right now. Drink water, stay hydrated, y'all. But as we have these conversations, it's important to note what's being done, because we only have about an hour and a half on this show, and I'd love to dive into these things more, but we got so many different topics I want to cover. So let's jump into Rochester here local. If you guys have been following me for some time, you might have heard me talk about 15-minute cities. or the 2030 agenda by the UN, or the 2035 project in our city itself, or maybe it's 2030 in the city. I think it's 2035 for the city. And I call the 2035 project for our city the Great Displacement. Because with the rezoning and the stuff that they're trying to do, they're going to push a lot of people that are in the city, that have lived in the city for generations, out of our city. It's very, very important, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to create 15-minute cities. And now they're talking about, oh, let's make the city bikeable. Let's make it bikeable. I bike all the time, y'all. Like, and I say bike different than cycle, because a cyclist cycles for fun or for exercise. People that bike for transportation, right? So there's a distinct difference. And that's important. And they got all these ridiculous bike lanes. All the bike lanes are terrible trash. And they use the bike lanes and say, oh, well, we need them for the safety for the bikers. I never had, all my life, I never had a problem riding in the street before these bike lanes. Never, not once. Like, you know, the occasional general issue that you do have with cars, because, you know, even if you're in a car, people, you got to drive for everybody on the road. But no, I've never, never, except one time when I was in a more, neighborhood setting, where I got hit by a car and I was on the bike. And I was on the bike with my little brother, and we got hit by the car because we were crossing the crosswalk at the stop sign. So it wasn't so the only issue that I ever really had wouldn't have even ever had any impact with that, because we were crossing where we were supposed to cross. And if we would have went across the front of the thing anyway, it's because the driver wasn't looking. But this happens all the time anyway. That's why we get a lot of accidents, well, not a lot of accidents, but people have accidents in the universe, like that's what happens. But I've never in all my life needed a bike lane. Never, ever, ever. Not once. The ones that we have are trash. Mostly we don't have them even. And the ones that we do have are trash. Have I said that the bike lanes are trash enough? And then they're like, oh, well, we want to put a barrier up to protect the bikers from the cars. No, I don't want none of that nonsense, because y'all keep making it harder and harder for me, if I'm on a bike, to cross over across the other lane or across the street or anything. And then somebody had the audacity to tell me the other day, oh, well, you should cross at the crosswalk. Don't nobody cross at the crosswalk. Let's be honest and frank. If you walk, if you bike, you rarely get the opportunity to actually cross at the crosswalk. Because why? Crosswalks are not efficient. And that goes back to a whole structural strategic planning thing from when they started up with cars and jaywalking and all of that nonsense, because a Jay was a scuzzy person, and how jaywalker is really a derogative term, which that's a whole separate conversation. Maria Ortiz says, happy holidays. Maria, I see you out there. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like button. Yeah, Maria, Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year. No happy holidays. Happy holidays is blasphemy, but a Merry, Merry Christmas. So we got second Christmas coming up in a couple of days, you guys. We got, January 7th this year is Orthodox Christmas. That's fantastic. I love that. I love Orthodox Christmas. So that's coming up. We also got Three Kings Day coming up on the 3rd. Three Kings Day isn't too far away either. Get ready to get your shoe boxes so that you can get the presents from the Three Kings. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, I love some religious celebrations. Now, I do want to go back to the non-discussion about what's going on with making our city this so-called people are out of control here with those bikes. I agree with you. It's really there's these couple of groups. I'm not going to name any names today. Y'all know who they are, that are really pushing this agenda with these bikes. Okay. They're like, oh, it's for the bikers. No, it's not. It's not for us. It's because you want to make it so, and they'll call it what it is. They'll say, oh, it's traffic easing or it's traffic calming. No. What you're saying is you want to limit the amount of traffic and throttle the traffic flow. So people have to go slower. They can't go as far. It's not as easy and as convenient for them to move forward. And that's what the whole point of this so-called walkableness, bikeableness, that's what all of these lies are about. That's what all of these lies are about. And that's what we need to talk about. Because if we don't talk about it, nobody else is going to talk about it. And it's not just happening here, it's happening all across the nation. This is the steps to 15-minute cities. Now, you might say, Marcus, what is a 15-minute city? Let me tell you what a 15-minute city is. A 15-minute city is an open-air prison where they don't want you to go within 15 minutes of walking from where you live. They want you to have all of the things that you need within 15 minutes of walking from your neighborhood. Okay, they don't want you to go anywhere outside of your neighborhood. It's basically ghettos that they're forming. Okay, more lavish, nicer concepts of open air prisons. You know, it's ridiculous. And then it'll be like a panopticon because essentially you'll be monitored and viewed at all times and you won't be able to do anything that they don't like and all of this nonsense. Drink water, stay hydrated. Speaking of which, I got a couple of articles that I'm writing that are going to come out this week and later in the week about this type of stuff and similar stuff on my Substack. So if you guys are on Substack, subscribe to my Substack, Marcus C. Williams. You'll see me on there. But going back to this nonsense, right now they're pushing an ad campaign talking about, oh, well, Monroe County officials have said that there's been a spark in crashes of 20%. How is that possible with all the traffic calming? How are traffic accidents going up? How? Like, can we talk about that? Like, it's not working. It's like when they did the studies on the flu vaccines back in the early 2000s. I want to say it was 2009. And they found out that the flu vaccines weren't really helping the elders, that the flu vaccines, since they started taking them, the numbers of the elders that were dying from flu continue to go up. So it wasn't really helping. But since most of the people that were a part of that what would you call it, panel that was doing the study was part of the NIH, the National Institute of Health, that they wouldn't talk about it, you know? So that's another conversation. But see, that's how you know the fix is in, when they talk about, when they do this type of stuff. And they'll tell you it's good for you, but then you see these numbers. How are traffic issues up? How is there a spike in stuff is up? That doesn't make any sense. When you put all this extra walkable, extra drivable, doesn't make no sense. Stop it. Stop it. It's all lies. It's all deceit. And we need to be talking about them. We need to be talking about these issues. You know what? We have to also talk about the gift that we got on Christmas Day from Donald Trump. You know, a lot of people hate him. But this year on Christmas, he gave all of us a little bit of a present that are Christians. He blew up those Muslim terrorists in Nigeria. He blew up a lot of them. And Nigeria says that it is an open operation with the U.S. and joint collaboration with Nigeria. And I think that that's awesome. And I just felt like, wow, thank you. You did something, you know? And people will say, oh, well, it's because of the resources. It's because of this. It's because of that. Partially, I'm sure. But also it needed to be done. Because can we really allow Al-Shabaab or these other Islamic terrorist groups to take control of Nigeria? Like, that sounds crazy. Then I saw some people posting stuff online talking about, oh, well, Niger, not Nigeria, Niger is making it so that Americans can't come there. Who was going to Niger? Wasn't nobody going to Niger. Most people don't know that Niger exists. If you are online right now and you're watching me, just give me a wave or something and say that you tell me that you know where Niger is. Not Nigeria, Niger. Because don't nobody know. Like, come on, stop. You know? So that was interesting. And also over the weekend, yesterday, we had Zelensky down there at Mar-a-Lago, along with Netanyahu again. We're not going to talk about Netanyahu. We talked about him a little bit earlier. But we had Zelensky down there talking with Trump about making a peace deal with Russia. And hopefully something comes of that. But they still don't want to give up any territory, even though they've got like no soldiers left and they got nobody that really wants to fight left. And all of the people there want peace. And this was all really a cultivated narrative and a cultivated thing that was really disadvantageous to the people of Ukraine when they should have just let those areas in the Donbass be autonomous like they were supposed to begin with, but they didn't want that. So what was happening is the people in Western Ukraine were genociding, right? We talk about genocide. It was an ethnocide of these ethnic Russians in Eastern Ukraine, but we can't talk about the origins of how all of this happened. We can't talk about how all of this stuff happened. And that's what happened. And Zelensky is over there torturing Christians, destroying Christian churches in Ukraine. Why is he doing that? They're persecuting Christians in Ukraine. Why is that going on? Why can't we talk about that openly? And you can't talk about the fact that they're Nazis either. That's a whole nother conversation that just got swept under the rug after a while. Can't talk about that. Can't talk about the biolabs in Russia, not Russia, but in Ukraine either. Can't talk about that. Even though the US admitted that there were biolabs in there, and you can go look that up. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Go look it up. And we can't talk about any of that. We can't talk about any of that. And there's a way more serious bit of information that's going on everywhere right now that needs to be how can I say it? All of the information that's going on inside Ukraine is basically being scuttled by the news media and especially the outlets in Ukraine, because in Ukraine, there are no independent outlets. There are no independent journalists. You are only a part of the state media or you do not exist. And this is something that they started in the beginning of the Zelensky administration. They cracked down on any type of independent press. So you really have to ask yourself, what was going on there to begin with? What was up with that to begin with? And were there other things going on there? But may there be peace in our time. I don't want that to be the Middle East where there's no peace still forever. Was it John 3:18? Peacemakers who sow peace and who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. May we get there, So Trump's trying to work on some stuff there. Maybe he gets it, maybe they don't, because very clear, Europe wants war with Russia because Russia is the last real Christian nation that's willing to stand up against them. If they go after Russia, Hungary's gone. Okay. If they go after Russia, what's the other one? I can't forget the Slovenia. No, not Slovenia. Slovakia. Nope. Serbia. Nope. One of them over there. One of those countries over there. It's another one. I can see the flag. I'm blanking on the name right now. Very Christian nation. They just tried to assassinate the president a couple months ago. He lived. It's one of the ones with an S. But there's all types of crazy stuff going on over there in Eastern Europe. And it's really the EU trying to consolidate authority and control over all of the people over there. And that's why they're trying to get rid of Russia. It's a big issue. And this doesn't make Russia the good guys. Don't get it twisted. I'm real American. I still think that Russia is one of the biggest issues that we have. However, the problem is that right now they're not. They're really not. It's China. China's our number one issue. And really right now, number two is probably, and I know people aren't going to like this, it's probably Europe. And, these people are undermining us at every single turn. We tried to sue for peace over there in Ukraine early on. Europe sabotaged it. Europe sabotaged it continuously. We've been trying to get peace over there for this whole time since Trump took back office. They've been sabotaging it. Why? Because they benefit. It's simple. It's real simple. It's real simple. And, we really need to think about what direction this is going to end up in. Because if we don't, I don't know what to tell you. We'll see what happens with this second phase of the Gaza peace plan. You already know how I feel about that. I don't see anything going to really work out there at all until Israel takes over all of it, because that's their end goal anyway. They're not going to let anything else go on it. That's exactly what's going to happen. So this is the stuff that we have to have conversations about, but we can't have conversations about that. Cambodia and Thailand, there was just a war that was going on there. I didn't realize that Cambodia and Thailand have been fighting for like 100 years. I didn't realize that. That was kind of amazing to me, new information for me. But they were, and now we're really starting to see because of the U.S. involvement there, negotiating and stuff like that, and adding trade and options like that, we're really starting to see that calm down, and they're really starting to have some peace. May it stay, because every other week it seems like they got some planes and some little bit of fighting and stuff like that seems to be going on. I do think at some point we're going to see a spark off in Pakistan over there with India, and that'll be interesting. So, but we'll just have to wait and we'll have to see, what goes on there. Because right now inside Pakistan, they're fighting the Chinese. They're fighting the Chinese inside Pakistan. So the Pakistani government has sold out a lot of the mineral rights and stuff to China. So what's happening is a lot of the people in the different provinces aren't with that, because when China goes into somewhere, they take it over and they run it like it's their own, and they beat the people that live there, and they force them, work for them under horrible conditions, and they treat them terrible because China thinks that they're the best and everybody else is terrible, useless, and that's a problem. So the people over there in Pakistan aren't having that, and the Pakistani government isn't very happy that that's happening because it's hurting their money, right? It's hurting their money in their pockets. They're like, oh man, you can't do that because it's hurting our money. But they're like, we need food, and China's blocking our food, and they're causing problems, and they're not hiring our workers, and they're making it hard for us. It's crazy. It's like when there's an army in a certain area, the prices of food and stuff increase. And while this isn't an army per se, it's the same type of situation. Really, it is. And there needs to be some conversation about that. But in the meantime, I guess we're going to blow up Iran some more with Israel, I guess. Lord forbid, because that's the direction that we're going in. And I just, I'm so disgusted. I'm so disgusted. Now, we've got this guy that I've been hoping and hoping and hoping that as the Pope that he does some good. And I don't know, y'all. I'm not seeing it the way I would like to. He did say that Mary isn't the co-redemptrix, but he's been doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff on the side and saying a whole bunch of weird stuff. And every time I see him, it's like, what even are you saying? He said the other day, oh, you got to let all the illegal aliens in and stuff like that. And Cardinal Sarah, I love me some Cardinal Sarah. Cardinal Sarah said anybody that's taking the scripture out of context to try to push for illegal immigration and open borders is basically taking the scripture out of context. And he said something way more stronger than that, because that's Cardinal Sarah. I love that guy. I forget what he said exactly. I don't want to butcher it too bad, and I don't want to use too strong language, but he said it just right. I wish Cardinal Sarah would have been the new Pope, but that's a whole nother conversation. Because I really pray for the restoration of the Catholic Church, because it ain't there. And this ain't it. Neither was the last one. And apparently we're supposed to be going back to the moon. So that's coming up. And there are a lot of contracts going around with that right now. Drink water, stay hydrated. So there's a lot of contracts going around like that right now. And I think that we need to have a conversation as the American people that we don't know what the heck Congress is doing. We don't. Because, Congress passed money for a space train. Did you hear about that? Let me say that real close into the microphone. Congress passed money for a space train on the moon. Okay? And when they passed that, it's called what is it called? Nope, that's not the one I want. I forget the name of it. But they're already putting millions and millions of dollars into it. I think they've allocated $13 billion for it, for the moon. Like $13 billion for a moon train. Moon train. Like what even are we doing? Like we don't have enough here on Earth, and you're trying to put money into a moon train. Now this, in defense of the current administration and the current set of Congress, this didn't happen now. This happened in the previous administration, under the previous Congress. But that's something that we need to talk about. because I'm not trying to fund no moon train when we got so much stuff here going on in America. But when can we actually have the conversations about what's going on in the United States? I don't know. I don't know. So the project for it is called is this it? Yep. It's called the Flexible Levitation on Track Float is going to be part of what they're doing. And they're going to use some of the lunar soil, the regolith, to actually use it. And that's kind of crazy to me. Maria says, shaking my head. Yeah, shaking my head. Like a moon train. So it's crazy. So it's part of the Artemis program, which is $93 billion. Essentially, we're trying to militarize the moon. And I'm not mad. I want to militarize the moon. Don't get it twisted. Honestly, let's get into something for 2 seconds. I think the moon is a military base that actually got destroyed in the last great war between God and the fallen angels. Because, I mean, you got to look at the craters on the moon. They all seem to be on one side, and they all seem to be pretty flat, direct on. And that's not how craters work. That's not how gravity works. And that's not how any asteroids or meteorites or comets work. But it is how missiles work. But hey, that's a conversation for another episode. Let's just talk about this. So they're also working on something in DARPA, which is going to be a commercial hub. That's going to be part of the Lunar Railroad. Like, just listen to this. Like, I need y'all to listen. So they're already provided an initial $1 million for the study and stuff like that, which is, I need to be very specific about this $1 million for this study that they're putting together. It's $1 million for a study about creating a commercial moon base on the moon for trade and a moon train, right? And in our city, they want to put together a study for buying our local energy provider, RG&E, for $1 million. But they out here putting $1 million for an actual study for building a moon base with a moon train. So if that's $1 million for that study and we paying $1 million for this study here in Rochester, clearly something is wrong. We getting overcharged. You know what I'm saying? But this is crazy people that also want this 15-minute city nonsense. It's all about putting more power in the hands of government. That's what these people want. That's what these leftists want. It's always, always, always about giving more power to the government. And now we got a lot of people on the right that want to give more power to the government too. I'm not with any of it. I'm not with any of it, not even a little bit. And this is a problem because we don't have these conversations. We don't. We don't. And I want to know if we talk about the conversations that we need to have here in the US right now, like the Somalis in Minnesota. What can we do there, right? Can we talk about that? You know, is anybody going to go to jail? Never. Nobody's ever going to go to jail there, you know? And it's concerning. It's really, really, really concerning because now they've talked about, oh, well, they've got a couple of different things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. And I'm waiting for more reporting to come out before I really talk about this online because I don't have enough information to really like bring it all home. But they've been talking about all of these issues with the 2020 election, with the 2020 election and stuff like that. And all of this shady double dealing and stuff like that, as well as Smartmatic and what's the other company? It's slipping my name. It's the name slipping my head right now. But we really, 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 really need to talk about these type of situations because what's going to be done? You know that we had a panel in Congress, right? And this was in 2016, 2000, when was it? It was, because it was the Democrats. So it must have been, when did Trump win? 2016? Yeah, so right before Trump won, and they said that, oh, Trump is all, he cheated, he did this, he did that, and the third, da 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 da. There was a panel in a committee even in Congress, and I forget the name, you guys, but it was in Congress, and they had like $30 million or something like that allocated. I think it was at tops like $65 million to secure the elections. And they said, oh no, it's the safest and securest elections ever. Remember, that's what they told us after 2020? When Trump lost, oh, it's the safest and securest elections ever. So, no, it wasn't in 2016. It was after 2016 that I'm talking about. But during the previous administration under Obama, they had a similar thing where they didn't spend any of the money either. But in that, and at the time, the Democrats were really the ones that were pushing in the committee hard, but they didn't do anything. They didn't spend any of the money. But you're going to tell me that the elections were the safest and most secure ever? I mean, that doesn't seem to add up. That doesn't. And where did the money go? Where did the money go for that committee? That's what I'd really like to know. Can we have that conversation? But I guess we'll have to leave that conversation till next time. In the meantime, if you're watching me online, please subscribe to my channel, the Marcus C. Williams channel on YouTube, or click subscribe or follow wherever you are. And do definitely sign up for my Substack. You just search me, Marcus C. Williams. You'll find me on there. I got a whole bunch of articles that are coming out this week. We already got started. They're almost done. And I'm going to launch like 4 or 5 of them this week. You're going to love all of them. So check those out too. I'll catch you guys later. Be sure to share. And remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You guys be blessed and be well. You know, you guys, they changed this stuff here at the station of what we're supposed to click on to. And I don't even know what I'm supposed to click on to anymore because everything has changed. So
the opinions on this program do not necessarily reflect those of Rochester Free Radio, its underwriters, and supporters. The opinions on this program do not necessarily reflect those of Rochester Free Radio, its underwriters, and supporters.
all right. So now that that's done and all that noise is out the way, I'll let somebody else figure out what to do with that. That's not my department. But anyway, you guys, I'm here. I want to encourage you guys in this new year as we close out. Make sure that you are focused moving forward for our nation. Nobody else is coming to save us. It's got to be up to us. We've got to stand up. We've got to speak up, and we've got to encourage and inspire others. We've got to get involved locally because nobody else is going to get involved locally until they see more people stand up. So it has to be up to you. Go out, join a city council meeting, join a county ledge meeting, go to any of the meetings that are out there, whether it's like fire district or whatever, but get involved. Start seeing what's going on. Maybe your interest is school district. We need more people locally to start getting active to understand what's going on in their local areas so that they can spread the word to more people so that we can have more people that are willing to stand up. If not for us, then who? If not now, then when? We're losing our country because the government continues to grow out of control. Fortunately, we've got a president that's working on cutting back some of the government stuff. But the problem is this. The government will perpetually do whatever it can to protect and defend itself to get bigger and bigger and bigger because it shores up the jobs for itself, its people, the people's cousins and everything else. The people that went to the same schools, all of it is about connections. And that's what our government is about. Keeping the people in the bureaucracy, because that's how they keep power. And if we don't understand that this is a power move inside our bureaucracy to continue to fight against everything that Trump is doing, I'm not hailing Trump as a all-encompassing hero. What I'm saying is very clearly and directly to you. This is the first president to scale back a lot of these jobs in a long time and to try to cut out government departments and stuff. We need that now more than ever. But at the same time, a lot of this is being replaced with this so-called modernization where they're putting everything digital, and we've got all these digital corporations with all of our information inside of all of these different parts of the government and the bureaucracy. You know, the more data and collection that they have on us, like I said earlier in the show, the better that they can predict what we're going to do, the better that they can manipulate us, how we should move. And we need to stand up and push back against that, because the digital ID is here. It's not coming. It is already here. New York has ours. California has theirs. They're saying, oh, well, they're just optional right now. They're not going to be optional. Now they're on your phone. You can get the apps on your phone. It's crazy, you guys. We got to wake up. And I know that a lot of stuff that's going on the federal level can seem overwhelming, but that's why we have to get started local. City by city, town by town, block by block. That's how we can make a difference. But you got to get involved. You got to encourage other people to get involved. It's up to us, and we must act now. I'll catch you guys later. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. Be blessed and be well.